Regular viewers of Mad Money know I'm a big fan of the huge shift toward cloud computing because it offers such enormous savings for businesses versus old-fashioned on-premises software and hardware. And as the cloud expands, it needs one thing: data centers. Gigantic warehouses full of servers where all of your information is exactly located. That's why, among other reasons, I keep recommending the Data Center Real Estate Investment Trust. While other kinds of REITs haven't done very much at all this year, many of the data center names are up double digits. Take Equinix, the big daddy of the data center REIT space, with a stock that's up nearly 20% year to date. Now, Equinix reported a strong quarter at the end of April with 12.5% revenue growth. And funds from operations, the REIT equivalent of earnings, growing by nearly 45% year over year. Last December, the company bought 24 data center sites from Verizon for $3.6 billion, in a move that should make Equinix even more dominant in the space than it already is. So let's take a closer look with Steve Smith, the president and CEO of Equinix, to find out more about how his company's doing and where it is headed. Mr. Smith, welcome to Mad Money.
Good to be here, Jim. Thanks for having me.
All right, sir, you know we have all the data center REITs on because we love this business so much. And I need you to describe to our viewers why Equinix is different from some of the others.
Well, Equinix is a company that's been around about 18 years and accumulated almost 10,000 customers in today almost 180 data centers across 44 of the biggest markets in the world and in 22 of the most prominent countries in the world. And so we've accumulated capability to enable companies to deploy their server infrastructure, as you said, their storage arrays and their networking gear all over the world, and we can interconnect them to their partners, the cloud providers, the networks, anybody they need to interconnect to run their IT needs anywhere in the world.
Okay, so let's talk about interconnection, because I know it's really a factor that really makes you stand out. So what would be a customer who wants to talk to other customers that can use Equinix and would not get the same service from others?
Well, it's a great question, Jim. And the business model started in the late 90s, where all the networks in the U.S. came to Equinix. They chose Equinix to come to create an environment where traffic could be handed off between carriers to help scale the internet. Mm-hmm. And over the last 18 years, we've accumulated, as you said early on, multiple data centers. We've spent $17 billion of capital over this time frame to acquire and build up more capacity. But companies can come in today, find any one of the big cloud providers, an AWS, a Google, a Microsoft, an Oracle, an SAP, or they could find any of the big networks in the world to move their traffic anywhere in the world, connect to them, connect to their partners, and run their IT.
Wow. I want you to say, I've been, a lot of people are very skeptical about this market, and they're very skeptical about technology. But I have had fabulous people on Salesforce and Red Hat and ServiceNow, people who really know what they're doing in the cloud. And they all say the same thing, which is there has been a step function upward in demand in the last 6 months. Have you seen that, sir?
Well, listen, you know better than anybody, Jim, doing what you do every day. We're in the middle of or in the early stages, I should say, of a huge paradigm shift to cloud computing. As you know, and as the viewers know, we all live in a mobile cloud-enabled world that has these evolving IoT, Internet of Things edge points. And these edge control points now are sensors, cameras, cars, buildings, our computers. And all of these things are being connected to the cloud, connected to the Internet. And so we facilitate a lot of that there, as do many other data center companies, but we just do it on a grander scale, wider and deeper than any of our competitors do today. And our game is to continue to build more scale and reach to enable the cloud providers, the networks, and any enterprise that doesn't want to be in the data center business to move certain workloads, application workloads, to these co-location centers and run their business as cost effectively and efficiently as they possibly can.
I was with Verizon when they put together their fabulous data centers, and I was so excited because to me it was Verizon on the move. It wasn't just going to be plain old telephone. It wasn't just going to be internet. They were going to build the premium data center business in the world. What happened that you were able to get that business for what I now see, for at least the stock says, a very good price?
Well, as you probably remember, I think this was 5 or 6 years ago, Verizon bought a company called Terramark, which was one of the early cloud providers. And this was a big telco buying a fast-growing cloud company. Actually, one of the other telcos did the same thing with a company called Savvis. CenturyLink bought a company called Savvis, again, a cloud provider. And 5 or 6 years later, both of those telcos have sold those data center assets. We acquired 29 assets from 50-some that they were trying to sell at Verizon, and CenturyLink sold to a private equity firm 50-some data centers. So the telcos today are, as you well know, are focused on 5G and spectrum and mobile, and it just became less important to their core business, and they wanted to get out of the business. Now, part of the relationship with Verizon is we have a deep relationship globally with Verizon. They wanted to pick a partner that was going to go to market with them, and we have a great relationship here. So we picked up a lot of new customers all across the Americas, and it was a great deal, as you said.
All right, last question for those who are still trying to figure out, well, wait a second, I see Jim's really enthusiastic about Equinix. Let's take the customer Burger King. And now, people might say, well, what does Burger King need with a data center? Maybe you can tell us what they do with Equinix.
Well, they're a great example. Burger King has, as you know, has stores and outlets all over the world. So they have customers, their people, and their business deployed all over the world. All that information is distributed. It requires local capability on servers, storage arrays, and networking gear everywhere that Burger King has outlets. So they, like any other company, is moving more and more of their infrastructure to take advantage of this pay-as-you-go, pay-as-a-service cloud computing capability, whether it's software, hardware, or platform, and they do a lot of that with Equinix.
Well, that's great. I want people, I want people in these stocks because you can raise dividend, you've got great growth story, and I really appreciate you coming on because Equinix, as you know, is one that we think is just fantastic. Steve Smith, the President and CEO of Equinix EQIX. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on Mad Money.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, guys, I know with $400 stock, you probably say, oh, that's so expensive. That's just the dollar amount. The growth here is great. Take a look at how this company has done. It's magnificent. Mad Money's back after the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.